What is going on, everyone, and welcome to WreckTalk. It's late when I'm recording this on a Sunday night. Just got back from the airport from Syracuse, and even though we didn't win, I had a decent time in Syracuse, but I needed to get this power ranking out. Now, I'm sure you see one team on here that's not an ACC team. Wreck, what are you doing? You lost your mind? Did Syracuse beat your brains in so bad? You don't know what team's an ACC team and what team's a Big 12 team? I do. Colorado, their coach played at Florida State, and I want to talk about them. So we're going to lump them in with Florida State. Now, I redid the tiers a little bit. So we've got national title contender. So someone in that I think is a team that could contend for a national title. ACC championship contender. There's going to have to be at least two. Obviously, two teams have to play in that. So there's got to be at least two teams in that tier. Good Power 4 team, below average Power 4 team, and Caca Poo Poo PP, which is what one Florida State fan wanted to call in and do and keep spamming in the chat. We'll talk about them in a second, though. So first, Boston College. Boston College, were they on a bye this week? They're the only team I don't remember seeing. Okay. So Boston College beat the fool out of Duquesne, and they beat Florida State, which is not all that impressive. It's not impressive enough for me to put them in an ACC championship contender. I mean, look, yeah, they did absolutely beat the life and soul out of Florida State, worse than Georgia Tech. But as we found out with Georgia Tech, that doesn't really mean anything. Beating Florida State is like it's like beating up a small child and taking his lollipop. No one's going to be impressed, and actually a lot of people are just kind of sad that it even occurred to the weakling anyway. So I'd say Boston College is a good Power 4 team. Let's see Missouri. Now, if they play Missouri tough or something, I don't know what that line will be, but if they give Missouri a run for their money, they might could move up into ACC championship contender. We'll have to see. Cal has to go in front of them. Cal, in my opinion, has a better win. Beat Auburn in California. Boy, Hugh Freeze. He's kind of, to me, in line with Bobby Petrino as just waste of air. Just morally reprehensible people that should probably never have a job. Anyways, if you didn't know, like, he had all these hookers on speed dial for his people. When he was at Ole Miss, who even knows what happened with the Tuohys and Michael Orr, if you're familiar with the Blind Side stuff. Basically, the Tuohys had that guy in a conservatorship, the same thing that Britney Spears was in. Complete craziness. Then when he's at Liberty, he's accused of sexual misconduct and texts the girl or direct message the girl who's accusing him. But Auburn didn't care. They hired him. Now, maybe Auburn's just an awful team. Who knows? And I actually had some Cal people comment on the last ranking, like, hey, Cal has all these defensive players that are PFF top, this, that, and the other. Thing is, you just got in the ACC yesterday, and I just don't know much about you. So you'll get some more respect from me after you get an ACC win. But I have nothing against Cal. Cal's a great school. I love academics. Yeah. Clemson. I think they're an ACC championship contender. I don't remember if I had them there last week. And I'm not just saying that because they beat the brakes off of App State. I mean, they beat App State like, 56 to 20 or something? 66 to 20. Now, who knows how good App State is? The thing is that you kind of have to remember with Clemson, like, they were at the top of the college football world, averaging 10 wins a year for like a decade. They had Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. Even when they didn't have those, even they had guys like, was it Taj Boyd? It was Taj something. I think it was CJ Spiller, the Ford kid. Like, even before they had these generational quarterbacks that were great. And the bar has been elevated to the point when they're losing 3 or 4 games a year, we all think that the sky is falling. Now, I do think they're definitely on a decline, but they are a talented team. I do think they're a team that can challenge for the ACC this year. I'd have to look at who they have next on their schedule. Who do they have coming up that's a test? NC State will be an interesting one. Then they really don't play anyone until, I guess, Louisville. So they don't even have that tough of a schedule. They could definitely run the table on their ACC schedule. Like, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. And for that reason, I think they're an ACC title contender. Duke, they're like bottom of the good Power 4 teams or top of the below average Power 4 teams. I'm going to put them in below average. Let's see who they played this week. They do beat Northwestern. They are undefeated. I'll tell you this, I forget who they played. They played some nobody like Elon before this and struggled at times, but I saw their quarterback. I think Duke's quarterback transferred from Tennessee or something, this Murphy cat. He threw for 242 yards, 3 touchdowns, interception. Just the WreckTalk eye test, he seems like they seem like they've got all the elements of being able to sneak up on someone this year. I don't think they're an awful team. It's just that they're in a total rebuild. Manny Diaz, didn't work out at Miami. Elite defensive coach. I think in, 2 or 3 years, you could see them, moving well up this list. I just think right now they're lacking a good bit. But I am worried about that game a little bit. I mean, we'll talk. Well, we're at Georgia Tech, so let's talk about Georgia Tech. No secret. I mean, this is my team. Georgia Tech. Look, were they overrated? Obviously they were. They get ranked for the first time in 9 years. Go to Syracuse. If you don't know, I was at that game. I was like on the 4th row up. At the, what is it? It used to be the Carrier Dome, whatever it is now. Boy, that Florida State win just doesn't mean anything, does it? I mean, Syracuse could not be stopped throwing the ball against Georgia Tech, and Syracuse stopped Georgia Tech's run. I mean, Georgia Tech really schematically was very vanilla. They couldn't move the ball when they needed to. I mean, Georgia Tech really didn't come alive until midway through the 4th quarter. By that time, the game was kind of already over. But Georgia Tech takes a step back. I do think they're a good Power 4 team. I don't think they're a below average Power 4 team. There'll probably be people that disagree with me with that, but they'll probably move toward the back of this list here. And since we're talking about Syracuse, I'll have to think if I put them above Cal. I'm going to put them above Cal, not because they beat Georgia Tech, but I'm that impressed with Kyle McCord. Now, Georgia Tech's pass defense and pass rush, who knows? Maybe it's the worst in the ACC. I don't think so, but it's not as good as it needs to be. I watched the guy anywhere from 20 yards in front of me to 80 yards in front of me based on where I was sitting. I saw him have pressure in his face and find an open guy on crossing routes. I saw him throw to his receivers in perfect timing. Maybe he threw 3 bad balls all game. I think at the end of this year, I was with Syracuse people the whole time. And I don't think it's an overreaction. And I might disagree with even some people in the Georgia Tech camp here. I think at the end of the year, people are going to be saying Kyle McCord is one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC. So respect to Syracuse. Louisville, it's hard to tell with Louisville. Louisville has not played anybody yet. I mean, they've beat the brakes off of 2 not so good teams. I guess since they're undefeated, they've got to go above Tech. They haven't played anybody. Boston College, Cal, and Syracuse all have more impressive wins, though. So I'll put them there. NC State. NC State got the absolute life beat out of them by Tennessee after struggling mightily with Western Carolina. Now, every preseason, NC State is like this darling of the ACC. They're always a dark horse to win the ACC. They're winning 8-9 games a year. Never can get over the hump. It looks like they've got problems this year. It looks like they were overhyped. And I'll have to look at their schedule. I think, every team that's not named Georgia Tech schedule seems to stack up very nicely for them. Man, they got Clemson, Northern Illinois, who just beat a top 5 Notre Dame team. Does that put Notre Dame out of the playoffs? I mean, when you don't play a conference championship, like Notre Dame, no one should even talk about Notre Dame anymore as far as playoffs. I know it's a 12-team playoff, but they automatically don't get a bye, right? So they actually have 2 pretty tough games coming up. I think Syracuse could be tough for them. Cal could be tough for them. Obviously, I think Georgia Tech could be tough for them. I have no respect for North Carolina. I actually left North Carolina off my thumbnail in the last video, and it wasn't on purpose, but I also don't regret it. I'm actually going to stack them here. This is kind of dirty, but in the slightly below average. Now, SMU got beat by Brigham Young after. Have they played 3 games now? Weird having SMU talking about them in an ACC list. They have. So they lose to Brigham Young. They beat Nevada, though they probably should have lost, and they beat the Houston Christian, whoever that is. I think they were way overhyped this year, too. I do think they're below average Power 5 team. In fact, I would probably put them behind Duke even. I'm not going to do it. My gut tells me they should go there. SMU has a lot of growing to do to be in the big boy conference. Now Pitt's a team that's kind of sneaking around this year, aren't they? I mean, I don't think they've really. Well, they beat Cincinnati. Now I don't really know what Cincinnati has. We're early in these rankings since he didn't play anyone last week. No one seems to play anyone in the first few weeks of the season. Their quarterbacks look pretty good. He's had 2 games of 300+ yards of 3 or more touchdowns. Maybe Pitt is bouncing back this year, but I do think, look, since he's a Power 4 win for them, I haven't watched any Pitt football this year, but just based on what I see, they got to go somewhere around here. I'll put them here. I'll put them right above Georgia Tech. You could make an argument to put them above Louisville, maybe. They have a better win. They have better wins than Louisville, so we'll put them above Louisville. North Carolina. Now, North Carolina's undefeated, but I was not impressed with their win against Minnesota. Minnesota should have won that game if they didn't have a doofus left-footed kicker, which we all know, if you've watched RecTalk for any length of time, having lefties is just a good way to lose all the time. I don't think they were that impressive against Charlotte either. We'll look kind of at this box score. I do think this Harrell quarterback has the potential to be good for them. But they're missing a lot of pieces they've had in the past, and I just have not been all that impressed with them. I do think defensively they're gonna take a step back. And I do think they're a below average team. I think they're slightly better. I think they're slightly better than NC State. Stanford, I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know anything about these teams that just joined the conference. They got beat. They got beat by TCU. Who knows how good TCU is last week? We'll make NC State and North Carolina mad. We'll put them here as slightly better than SMU. Well, SMU has 1 loss, and I think it's a better loss, so we'll put Stanford there. Now, I'm sure I'll have some Stanford fans typing, hey, we've got this player, and he's all world, and he's the greatest thing ever. Again, I don't know much about your tree university, but I do respect your academics. Miami's up to this point the best team in the conference. They're obviously an ACC championship contender. Here's the thing. I got to see them play a top 15 team and how they look against a top 15 team before I can put them in the national title contender. They beat up on Florida, but Florida looks awful, and then they beat up on, a non-Division I school. So, and their schedule is just soft. Their schedule is soft as Florida State is. Their first test won't come until Louisville. And Louisville's the easiest game on their schedule. Louisville or Syracuse, maybe. I mean, they've got Ball State. They'll be three touchdown favorites in that. South Florida, they'll win. Virginia Tech, not impressed. Maybe Cal gives them a test, but I just don't think Cal has the horses to run with them. Louisville will be interesting. Georgia Tech is my team. Just from what I've seen up to this point, Georgia Tech, they should beat Georgia Tech by 2 scores. Syracuse might be interesting. I don't think they got the defense maybe to run with Miami, but Miami could run the table on this schedule now. They haven't played, a decent teams, but just based on what I've seen, after they played Louisville, I could move them out of this when I get a sense. Virginia Tech. Now, Virginia Tech, who did they play this week? They played Marshall. Didn't look great against Marshall necessarily. I don't even know if they covered their point spread. It looks like they did. Here's the thing. When you've been hyped to the moon like they have, the darlings of the conference, I get that they're returning a bunch of players. Lots of teams return a bunch of players, right? What have they done to make us think that they should compete for the conference, though? That's what I didn't really get. They're probably the best of the below average Power 4 teams. Can I even say that? I mean, North Carolina hasn't lost. I'll put them above NC State. Man, but they lost to Vandy. I think they got to go somewhere here. I'll put them right above SMU. I think that's fair. Virginia does beat Wake. I think we actually need. All right, so we had to make a whole new ranking thing. So we added another tier, just flat out bad Power 4 teams. Now, though Virginia did beat Wake Forest, they both have not looked impressive. It's hard to say if Tony Elliott will even survive this season. Wake Forest has taken a good step back, and they were leading by a good bit at points in this game. I mean, they were up 30-17 and gave up 14 unanswered to Virginia in the fourth. I don't know a ton about either one of these teams, right? And Georgia Tech has history with both those teams. They just, to me, seem like flat out bad teams. Let's see if any of these teams. I think SMU could go in here. I think they're a bad Power 4 team right now. I think Duke could go in here. I think you put Stanford in here too. Virginia Tech, if they drop another one, they're going in bad Power 4. Now, Florida State. Was it going to be anything else? No one has rooted for a bye like Florida State has this week. They've embarrassed themselves twice on national television. And honestly, the biggest embarrassment in internet history is their fans. You Florida State fans that comment on every video of every team we play from here on out is an embarrassment to fandom, to your own families, to your manhood, which you never had in the first place. Oh, look, y'all got beat by Syracuse. Syracuse would beat you worse than Boston College or Georgia Tech. And think about this, Florida State. Syracuse, which I'm not trashing Syracuse, I guess I am a little bit, a team that's not a college football, it's a basketball town. I had a Syracuse fan comment on one of the videos like, I just don't see how anyone could expect to go on the road and win. And I just thought that's the difference between a college football fan in the South and the North, because I certainly expect to go on the road to win. They go out and get Kyle McCord, who is 100 times the quarterback that that DJU is. You're telling me Florida State couldn't have gone out and got Kyle McCord and been way better than they are now? Yeah, you'd still have all your other problems, but you'd at least have the quarterback position figured out. That y'all want to sniff up WreckTalk's ball sack to get a little bit more attention, because that's all you guys are, is a bunch of attention whores that can't accept reality and want to cry in the fetal position all week long on your bye week, is honestly sad. And this is completely genuine from me. You guys, I don't understand. I don't understand how you act. And I'm not talking about all Florida State fans. I am talking about most of you, though. You not only do you want to cry, bitch, and whine an entire offseason, you want to cry, bitch, and whine to me after every game we play. I have far more to be proud about than any of you ever will. Now let's talk about another Florida State alumni, a Florida State alum, Colorado. Mark my words now. Timestamp, bookmark, record this. Shedeur, Shiloh, and Travis Hunter will opt out before the end of the season. 3 games or more left to play. Didn't Shedeur leave the game with 2 minutes to go? And it's fine, like if you take your starting quarterback out when you're getting blown out, get the backup, but your starting quarterback stays on the sideline and helps your guys and motivates your guys or encourages your guys. He just goes into the locker room. I guess Shiloh got injured, whatever. I think Shedeur got sacked 700 times. I think it was 700 times in that game. Did you see Deion Sanders' halftime speech? They're getting beat 28-0 or 28-3. I don't remember. They might have scored a field goal no one ever gave a crap about right before half. And this poor lady has to interview a guy who might qualify for government assistance based on their intellect. Deion Sanders. And she goes, well, she asked him about his defense. And Deion says, actually, I think the defense is okay. They're playing okay. Give up 28 points in the first half. Nebraska's not near the toughest team on Colorado's schedule. They got a true freshman quarterback. Maybe they have a decent defense. I don't know. Anyone with any semblance of a pass rush is going to beat the soul out of Colorado. I don't care how good Travis Hunter or Shedeur or Trey Horn. It's not going to work out. And Deion Sanders, he's even admitted it's selfish, is shortening Travis Hunter's career, playing him both ways. There's a reason you don't see teams doing that, and it's so that Deion can score a few more points and pad Shedeur's stats a little bit more. Colorado's not as big. I mean, this is insane for Florida State. As much of an embarrassment as Colorado is, they're not as much of as an embarrassment as Florida State is, because I think North Dakota State has a shot at beating Florida State. Colorado barely beats them and celebrates like, they just beat the Chiefs. That's something else I've never seen anything like. This whole Deion thing is going to completely implode this year, and I'm going to laugh my ever-loving ass off. And all the people that are fans of Deion, that tote water for him, that you can't tell that anything to them. Everything Deion does is great. Deion might struggle to win 4 games this year. Anyone with any sort of defense, especially a pass rush, and can score points, I mean, they're going to beat the soul out of Colorado. So I hope you enjoy all that money, all that attention, showing his. And boy, do these announcers carry water for Colorado and Deion. Let's post his Twitter stats. Post how many followers he has. Every call is against Colorado is awful. So enjoy the attention and, I guess, injection of money into your program. It's not going to equate to wins, and it's hilarious to me that it's tangentially related to Florida State. So Let's see what we came up with. I guess number 1, I don't think anyone would argue this, Miami. Number 2, Clemson. There's probably some people that would argue Clemson at number 2. I feel comfortable putting them there. Syracuse at 3 might seem a leap. I mean, you might argue putting like BC or Cal. I'm sure there are people that argue putting any one of these teams up there. Again, it's more that I was at a game where I saw this quarterback throw, and I still think Georgia Tech has a very good offensive line and rush offense, and they were able to stop it. So call me crazy. I got Syracuse at 3, Cal at 4, BC at 5, Pitt at 6, Louisville at 7, Georgia Tech at 8, UNC at 9, NC State at 10, Virginia Tech 11, Stanford 12, Duke 13, SMU 14, and then 15, 16, Virginia, Wake Forest, and dead last, one no one's going to argue with, Florida State. Now, look, I don't do a ton of research into this, so look, crucify me if you want over it. I just want to talk about the ACC teams. I love college football. Obviously, I love Georgia Tech, but I love the whole ACC. I love watching all these teams. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Where am I wrong? I'm sure people think Syracuse at 3 is absolutely crazy. Where did I get it wrong? Let me know. Talk to you guys later.